Before we get into today's daf, let's just chazriba what we saw yesterday because it's important for today. We began the Mishnah. What did the Mishnah say? You had four brothers, and they have two brothers married to two sisters. Those two brothers die, and now you have those two falling to the two brothers. Good. So we said two possibilities why you have to do chalitza, either because yesh zika, and each one is an achaz v'kukaso, or shemi yivatel mitzvah yivamim. If you let the first one do yibum, maybe for the second one does yibum, right? He will die, and therefore the yivama shall be go free because she's achas ishto. She'll be the sister of the wife. So to avoid that, whether yesh zik or ain zik, the Mishnah said what? Says what? That chaletzes loy misyabemes. Okay. Yesterday we saw machlokas between Rabbi and Rabbi Yochanan in the following scenario. You have two Yevamis, two sisters, right? They're married to two brothers, and they die, and they fall to one brother. Okay, now, when the first one dies, she's permitted. There's no zika achas kukasle. Then it's a classic case, right? She's permitted. She only becomes asa when the second one dies. When the second brother dies, now you have achos kukaso. What happens if the first one dies? Now the second one is mutter again. However, there's a svara to say, since at the time she fell, right? Since the time she fell, she wasn't mutter, she remains asa. The first one, apparently, is no problem. She was mutter, asa, mutter. So everyone holds, both Rav and Rabbi Yochanan both hold in the first case, where the first one fell. At that time, the brother could do yibum. Then the second brother died, and now the two sisters, right, if you didn't do yibum yet, are achos kukaso, and you can't. At this point, Tamirasa. If the second Yevamot dies, so the first one goes back to the original heta that she had in the first place. Everyone holds that, both in Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. They argue in the case of the second one. What happens if the first one dies? Right? The second one was never mutter, right? Initially, when she fell, says Rav, she's mutter. Says Rabbi Yochanan, she's asa. Why is she asa? Because since at the time she fell, she wasn't mutter, you can't do yibum. It's fact the Rav is not moided to that. In case of achas ishtoi, where it is asa, says Gemara, that's the deraisa. This is the rabbanon. Zika is the rabbanon. By the rabbanon, even if it's the zika is taken off, even though there was no time of heta, it'd be permitted. The Gemara now is going to attack Rabbi Yochanan Shita from our Mishnah. And here's going to be the kasha, guys. What does our Mishnah say? Our Mishnah says that if two women fall to two men, they're two sisters. Do me a favor, Avrami, can you just move over? I just find it or you move over, Mendy, a little bit this way. So again, it'll be easier. There's plenty of room here. I should see somebody. Okay, if you just even change seats, just sit over here, Mendy. Sit in this seat. If you sit in this seat, this would be great. Thank you so much. Okay, like this, I can see I want to make sure you're listening. Okay, so now, guys, watch. Here's going to be the kasha. You have four brothers married to two are married to two sisters. Consequently, they die. Reuven and Shimon died. They fall to Levi and Yehuda. As soon as Reuven dies, that one is permitted. There's no zika. There's no achas ukukos yet because Shimon didn't die yet. So that one is permitted. Good. Then what happens? Goes ahead and Shimon, he dies, and then she becomes asa. So Fred the Gemara, why in our Mishnah does it say you both have to give chalitza? I have a very good eitzah. Let one brother give chalitza to the second one, and be miyabim the first one. Later, Rabbi Yochanan, again, since the first one was always in the ballpark, this Torah why he wasn't not kashan Rav either, but again, because it's speaking to Rabbi Yochanan. So later, Rabbi Yochanan, fellas, it should be very plain. Why do you say that you have to do yibum? Chalitza. L'chora, you don't have to do chalitza. You have an option to do yibum. Go ahead, do chalitza to the second one. The first one, which was mutter and asa, is now mutter again because he took off the zika. So why does it say you have to do chalitza? You would expect Rabbi Yochanan to give a teretz. You know what Rabbi Yochanan says? That Mishnah is not a Mishnah. Mamish, really, Rabbi Yochanan takes the Mishnah out because Zu ain't a Mishnah. It's not a Mishnah. What the Gemara is going to do now is to exhaust any possibility that we possibly could have had to say do chalitza and keep the Mishnah in existence. Why didn't Rabbi Yochanan do that? So that's the format of the first part of the daf. Rabbi Yochanan says this Mishnah is not a Mishnah, meaning there's no way in the world you give chalitza to both. The Gemara now is going to suggest you could give chalitza to both, and the Gemara is going to show why Rabbi Yochanan disagreed with that. Okay, And then we're going to conclude that's why you learned in a Mishnah, because again, this you inevitably at the end of the day, you could have done Yibum to the first one. You could have done Yibum to the first one. Okay? So let's see. Let's start that 10 lines up. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We're on Chaf Zainam base. Arba Achen. Now Rabbi Chanina is speaking to Rabbi Yochanan, so therefore the easiest way out, he only asked Rabbi Yochanan, he didn't ask on Rav. Even though Rashi says it could be on Rav, Taisa says it's not. I'm going to skip that machlokes because I want to focus on hard Gemara. Arba Achen. Beis Mem Nesuim Beis Achayesh. Reuven and Shimon are married to two sisters. Umeisa Nesuim Es Achayesh. That leaves the two sisters falling to Levi and Yehuda. Ariel Cholzul and Misyamais. The Mishnah says that they give chalitza to each one. They don't know Yibam. Why do they have to do that? Late Rabbi Yochanan. Let one of the brothers, let Levi get up, go ahead and give do chalitza to the second one that fell. She was mutter when her husband died. Benesra, when the second husband died, now it's achas l'kukas because of hutra, and you came mutter again upon what the zika, the removal of the zika by what? By the brother doing chalitza. The guys were good, right? They're totally good. I'm good, so you're good, yeah. Says the Gemara, I don't know who learned it. Look at Rashi, guys. Any of Mishana falling into the bottom. Claim a zu any Mishnah. It's not a Mishnah. That's a real drastic teretz, right? That's a real drastic teretz. Unbelievable. So now the Gemara is going to go and exhaust any possibility to have said that why you have to do chalitza to both, and show that at the end of the day you could have done yibum to one, and therefore Rabbi Yochanan al Karchach had to say that that it wasn't a Mishnah. Let's see what we got. Says the Gemara. When the Mishnah says cholzos lo misyabmos, when it says cholzos, diktani is cholzos chada. Maybe it doesn't mean they both give chalitza, guys. Maybe it means only give chalitza to the second one, thus permitting the first one. In other words, we're learning it's chalitza to both. No, maybe it just means to the second one and the first one. You could do yibum to, because why you remove the zika? It says cholzos ketani. It says cholzos. It doesn't say one chalitza. It says two chalitzas. My cholzos is cholzos to alma. We had a teretz yesterday. Tsaris pa alma. In other words, if you have such a case. So maybe you have such a case that exists like this, where they fall, then you give chalitza to the second one, and the first one's permitted. So it's not going on specifically the two in our Mishnah. Maybe it's speaking in a genre of plural of different cases. You would say chalitzos. Says Hari Elu Katani. No, Hari Elu. These meaning this. These two give chalitza, not one. These two give chalitza. The chalas le'rishoyna bereisha. Maybe, why you have to do chalitza? Because you did chalitza accidentally to the first one. And the second one never had a shasheta. When the second one fell, it was achatz ukukasa automatically. When the second one, why falls? It's because the first one fell already. So you know why you have to do chalitza to both? Because accidentally, really, you should be able to do chalitza to the second one, take off that zika, and now marry the first one because she was mutter when she fell. When she fell, there was no other zika but hers. Regular classic Yevamot. So you know what happened in our Mishnah? Maybe you went ahead, you gave chalitza to the first one, and now you have no option. Why? Because the other one was always asras achas kulitza. So the second one never had a shas heta. Says the Gemara, it's not mashma bidi evedika. Bidi eved, you have to give chalitza. It's mashma lechatchila. This is your only option. So far we've shown Rabbi Yochanan cannot possibly learn the case of Yibum in our Mishnah. Okay. I got an eitzah. Guys, listen to this eitzah. Really, be'emes, what should you be able to do? Give chalitza to the second one, thus returning the first one to our original heter. You know why we don't do this? Because maybe if we allow any case of yibum, you might come to miyabim doing chalitza to the first one. So therefore, we don't let any yibum whatsoever, because you may come to go ahead that you may give chalitza to the first one and then do yibum to the second one, which is not permitted. The second one is asur as achas chulitza. So maybe that's why you both give chalitza. So why did Rabbi Yochanan say Eina Mishnah? I have an eitzah. Really, Rabbi Yochanan, you're right. Really, you should be able to give what? Chalitza to the second one and marry the first one, to go back to the original heta. You know why we don't do it? Why you give chalitza to both? Because we're worried if we let you do that, maybe you'll come to go ahead and give chalitza to the first one, and then the yibum to the second one, and she's usher as achas kukaso. So therefore, we're forced. You forced our hand. Says the Gemara. There's no din of yibum here at all. In other words, you go ahead. Really, the reason why you can't do it is the gezerah. You may come to do chalitza to the wrong one, and then you yibum. Mashma that there would be a din of yibum to the first one if you did it to the second. What does the Mishnah say? Meaning, ain shayach yibum klal at all. It doesn't even start. So that's not a possibility for learning pshat in the Mishnah. Guys, you all with me? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. Okay, let's forget the Zika side. Guys, let's forget the Zika side. Let's go through it again. We said there's two possibilities in our Mishnah why you have to do chalitza and not yibum. Why? If you do yibum to the first one, right, maybe the second brother will die, and now his wife, and then the sister is also as achas ishtoi because he did yibum to the first. So what are we worried about? It says gzeira shemawat. Maybe you're worried that this one will die, and therefore you give chalitza to both. In partial case, guys. In other words, we saw there was two possibilities to learn Pshat in our Mishnah why you give chalitza. Either al zika, al zachas sukukasoy, and even if you hold ein zika, the possibility of the chayish that maybe if the first one does yibum, the second one will die, and now the other one will get free because she's achas ishtay, and we need to do any mitzvahs yibum to her. So maybe over here, that's why you do chalitza to both. So if you do chalitza to both, what's you worried about? So why can't he be the time? Why can't the Mishnah be in right? After the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan Misa like chayish, he's not chayish from Misa. So therefore, that can't be the reason. So therefore, there would be no way to explain why you do chalitza to both. Reb Eliezer, let's say it's Reb Eliezer. Damar, we're going to see this in Daf Mem Aleph. Once you're asa, and you know what? Since she was asa, is asa, and that's it. Says the Gemara made the Sefer Reb Eliezer, and the Sefer is Reb Eliezer. Reishalah Reb Eliezer. Reb Eliezer opens up and says, "Hey, Shammai is the one who says Yekaimu, right? And it still says Yotziu. So when we see Reb Eliezer begins to speak in the latter part of the Mishnah, so obviously it can't be the first part of the Mishnah. Okay, so right now we've exhausted any possibility of why would you need chalitza, and we'll try again. The name of Lahu did nafal b'vasachas for Rabbi Yossi Aglili. We met Rabbi Yossi Aglili, guys. He holds it's possible to be exact. It's possible to be exact. So maybe they both died simultaneously. If they both died simultaneously, you never had a shas heter for either one, and therefore it's achos kukaso. So what do you have to do? Chalitza to both. So why did Rabbi Yochanan opt to go ahead and say the Mishnah is not a Mishnah? I have a way of establishing the Mishnah that you'd have to give chalitza to both. What's that speaking about? It's speaking where they both died simultaneously. There's no heter for either one of them. Therefore, what do you have to do? You give chalitza. Why didn't Rabbi Yochanan like that? And for Gemara, I'll tell you why not. The Tana is not going to give a Stam Mishnah. Guys, this is a Stam opinion. Rabbi, when he went to Stam Mishnah, is not going to go into a Das Yochid like Rabbi Yosef Glili. He's going to give a more universally accepted opinion. So therefore, it can't be that they fell at the same time. Oh, you know why you do chalitza, guys? I'll tell you why. You don't know which one was the first one. You know, if I knew which one was the first one, what would I do? I go and give chalitza to the second one and do yibum to the first. If I don't know, I have no option. So what do I have to do? Give chalitza to both. So why did Rabbi Yochanan say the Mishnah is not a Mishnah? I have a pshat. In a case where you don't know who the first is the second, you give chalitza to both. Chalitza, let me say so therefore, I have an explanation of the Mishnah without getting rid of the Mishnah. I have an explanation. The explanation is that what? There is two, and if I knew which one, in fact, I would go ahead, give chalitza to the second and marry the first, and do yibum to the first. But since I don't know which one's the first one, I have no option but to go ahead and do yibum and not chalitza. So if that's true, if you go ahead, if they both marry, they have to leave. Guys, if they marry, they have to leave, right? If they both marry, they have to leave, right? They have to leave. Now, 1 second. Now, Bishlema Rishon, the first one that the Yibum, Amrinale, we say to him, Bishlema, the first one that the Yibum, You know what we say to him? Man sharilacha, who permitted you to do yibum? So you can't, guys, we can't see you. Guys, it's kanas. You did yibum when you weren't supposed to. We can't see you, you're going to leave. Elishnia, the second one, he could possibly say, Chavroi shnia yet yibim. My brother, he was miyabim the second. He was miyabim the second one. If he was miyabim the second one, then what? The first one that was permitted. Another rishayim miyabim. So why are you causing me to leave? Why are you canceling me? Once one Bishleim, the first guy acts, you don't know who he's saying. He can't taina that because which one? But once he acts upon it, the second guy can taina. Listen, the first guy he took off the zika from the second one, so I can miyabim the first one. So how can you explain that the second guy would have to leave? The second one was miyabim. Why would he have to leave his wife? There's no reason to cancel him. He can taina. My brother took off what? The yibum, the zika from the first one. The first one was a shas heta, and therefore I should be able to stay with her. So therefore what? I know Rishonim miyabim, so hainu deka'amalei achoyes any day mishanan. Therefore you see, but exhausting all of this, I don't know who learned achoyes. Therefore, if two brothers with two sisters fall, the second brother can go ahead and do chalitza to the second one, and not that second, but any brother could do chalitza to the second one, and anyone could go ahead and be miyabim the first one. Guys, this was the easy part of Daf. I mean that I found this. This was the easy part of Daf. Okay, let's go back to Daf Chaf. Let's go back to Daf Chaf. And the good part is it's a lot of repetition. The bad part is it's so hard. Yeah, the bad part is it's so hard. Okay. Klal on Rabbi Yevamot. It's a Mishnah you might remember. Here's a rule of Yevamot. It's 20a. Klal on Rabbi Yevamot. Kol she isa erva loy chayletzes loy misyabemes. Guys, that was the first Mishnah in the parak. Your daughter falls to you, right? Your daughter falls to you. She's an erva is out. An erva deraisa is out. That's it. She's an erva deraisa, daughter, granddaughter. No matter, we have a bunch of cases. Aunt, whatever it was, out. No, there is no zika. Loy chayletzes loy misyabemes. She's eishes ach shaloi b'makom mitzvah. She's out. That's the first rule. Good. Second rule: is the mitzvah is a kedusha. If it's a mitzvah, that's a shnius la rayos. Let's say with it, guys. Well, just remember one grandmother. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we if you want to go over the list, good luck. But grandmother. So if your grandmother falls to you, in that case, what do? What's the halacha? Is chaletzes lo misyabemes. That's the case. Third din, achoysa sheyivimta. If you have two sisters that fall at the same time, one of them is an erva to you, then you would be able to do yibum to the other one because you don't have zika. But the other one would be what? Asar al achas ukasa. Guys, look at me. The last case, you got two brothers and two sisters falling in front of the two brothers. One of the sisters happens to be the mother-in-law of one of the brothers. She happens to be the mother-in-law, right? That one brother married this guy's mother. He married the daughter, right? So now she's falling in front of him. Now, obviously, this guy can't marry this one. So this one is mutter to him. Why is she mutter to him? Because there's no zika. Since this is an erva, there's no zika. However, this one can't do anything. He has to give chalitza because they're achas kukasa. Okay, that was the Mishnah Daf Chaf. Now, what does our Mishnah say? Right? What does our Mishnah say? Look at our Mishnah. Go Chavav Amid Aleph, our Mishnah. Okay, the first case we've exhausted, right? Four brothers, two sisters, chalitza to both. If one of them was aser on the other one is the erva, one of the sisters falling is the mother-in-law of one of the brothers that has to do yibum, right? Aser bo umuta ba'chaysa. That son-in-law would be aser to her, but muta in her sister. Right, within the sister, because there's no zika to stop it. But the other brother, asa b'shteim, because that would be achas kukaso. Guys, did we just say this then? Yeah. We just said this then. Yeah, we just said this then. Next, issa mitzvah issa kedusha cheletz nesia bemes. We said this then. Third din, One's mother-in-law, and one's the other one's mother-in-law. Guys, two brothers married two women who turned out to be, and the other two brothers married their daughters. So now the two brothers are the mother-in-laws of the two other ones. So what do? You switcheroo. One goes to one goes to the other, right? That l'chayr is the first case. Either way. So now with that in mind, let's begin the Gemara. With that in mind, let's begin the Gemara. If one of them was usher on the other issa erva, usher bo mutma chaysa. So again, the case of mother-in-law, very easy case. A guy marries a guy. You have four brothers. One of the brothers marries a girl, and then his other brother marries the girl's mother. So in that case, if the brother dies, the brother who married the mother, so you have a mother-in-law falling in front of a brother. Can't do yibum. That's erva. So let's say it was this erva. So he would be asaba umutaba chaysa. There's another sister there. He can do yibum to the other one. Vasheni, but the other brother asaba shteyem. That's a classic achos kuka. So he has no erva. So either one would be unpermitted because of now salkedaitach the nafla chamoisei tchila. What happened, guys? The chamoisei fell first. Okay, the chamoisei fell first. Okay, let's look at page 174. Okay, here you have the classic case. I told you the case, guys. Just look at 152.3. On page 174, look at 152.3. So Noah is married to Shimon, but Noah happens to be the mother-in-law of Levi. You see that Levi is married to Noah's daughter. Just follow the line. Levi is married to Noah's daughter, and Noah is married to Shimon. 152.4. So now Shimon, who's married to Noah, dies. So guys, so therefore Noah fell first. Good. Now who are the possibilities to do yibum to Noah? Ruvain, Levi, and Yehuda. Let's go down the road, guys. Tell me why it doesn't work. Now, Ruvain's married to Machla. He can't do yibum to Noah. That's achas sukuka so. Correct? Ruvain is married to Machla, Noah's sister. Can't do it. Good. Levi can't do it because why? Because it's his mother-in-law. Levi can't do anything because it's his mother-in-law. Shimon, Yehuda, it's muta. So now the Noah is muta to who? To Yehuda. This is what? If you fell first. This is if you fell first. Let's continue on. Now, what happens when Ruvain dies? When Ruvain dies, all of a sudden, Machla and Noah are asa to Yehuda as achas kukaso. Noah had a shasheta to Yehuda, guys. Noah had a shasheta to Yehuda. Before Ruvain died, there wasn't any zika between Machla and Noah, right? There wasn't achas kukaso. All you had was the relationship between Levi and Noah, which is asa. The only game in town was Yehuda. Yehuda could have married Noah. However, he didn't go ahead and marry Noah until Machla died. Until the husband of Machla, Shimon, Ruvain died. Upon the death of Ruvain, falling in front of Yehuda are two women, Machla and Noah. What's the problem? It's a chosukuk so. Good, right? Now, why don't I have an eitzah over here? If Levi goes ahead and miyabe Machla, Yehuda could be go ahead and do Noah. Why, right? Now, in other words, this is the Kashem Rabbi Yehuda. Levi is mutter Machla. Why not? Levi to Noah, she knows Zika. Noah is the mother-in-law. There's only one woman falling to Levi, guys. Guys, there's only one woman falling to Levi. Who is that? Machla, right? So why does the Mishnah say that's also on both? Go say, it's a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan. What does Rabbi Yochanan say? Fellas, one was mutter, became asa, and the mutter again. So here you have the castle case. To Yehuda, to Yehuda, Noah was mutter, became asa with the death of Shimon, and became mutter now with the Yibum of Levi. So why did Ella the Mishnah did not give this option? So if this is Mishnah option, it must be Rabbi Yochanan's wrong. Okay, one more time, guys. One more time. Look at me, guys. Look at me. Rabbi Yochanan said the following chiddush: if you have a time mutter, asa mutter, you could take her. So the case our Mishnah was two brothers married to sisters, one dies. That one that died is now mutter to marry. She only becomes asa to marry when the second brother dies. Says Rabbi Yochanan, let the second one take the zik off the second one and do even to the first. And therefore our Mishnah was not a Mishnah. Here we have a case, apparently, where what? The same thing should apply, and it doesn't. What's the case? Our case over here. One's an Issa Erva, and one is not. So to Levi, Noah is also, she's the mother-in-law. So Levi is always viable to do Yibum, right? He's always viable to do Yibum, because he's never going to have a case of Achos Kukaso, because he's never going to be Asr on both, only one. Good? So now, if that's the case, and you're telling me, so let Levi go ahead. When Shimon dies, Noah's available to Yehuda. It's not Achas Kukaso yet until Shimon dies. When Shimon dies, then it's Asa. So it's Mutter, Asa. How's it Mutter again? When Levi does even to Noah, it becomes Mutter again. Yeah, it doesn't give this option. Kasha on Rabbi Yochanan. Let's see it inside. Sinan Hasam. It's Akas min of Surah Alecha is the Erva, mother-in-law. Asa ba, it's Asa to Levi, Umuta ba Choisa, and Levi can marry Machla. Vasheni Asa b'Shneyem, and the other brother will be Asa both. That's the Mishnah. Salkadaitach, the Nafla Chamoisa Techila, that Noah fell first. The Amai, why do you say that? What? It's Asa to both. Why do you have to do Asa on Yehuda? Leiki Chasan Liyabem Hachtein Chamoisai. Let Levi go ahead, do Yibam to Machla. And now you took the Zika off Noah, Beresha, the Hachtein Chamaisa Beresha, Pavi Chamaisa, Lagabi Idach, Kiyavama, Shahutra, Vanessa, Bechazal Hutra. And to Yehuda, Noah will be like Yevamot that was Muta before Shimon died. Vanessa became Akas Kukase when Shimon died. Bechazal Hutra, when Levi did Yibam to what? To Noah. Beautiful. Beautiful, right? Says Gemara, about the obvious answer. So Taxla had to be shine. What happened was that Machla died. That Shimon, Ruvain died before. So guys, watch. Let's go back to the chart. Go back to line 152.4. Right? 152. Let's figure it out. He doesn't bring it on the chart. I'll just do it over here. So let's say Machla died first. So now, if Machla died first, Levi can't marry her, but Yehuda could have, right? Yehuda could have, okay, and then only then does Shimon die. So what are you going to say? That the erva that Levi should go ahead and be miyabim hu machla? There never was a shas heta for machla. There never was a shas heta from. Why are you going to say Levi should go ahead and do machla and that Yehuda do Noah? If machla had a shas heta, I'm trying to figure this out. Machla came first. So Machla came first. So what? Machla came, so the Shas Heta for Machla. Then Shimon died. And now it's Asur again. And now what happens? So Yehuda should be able to go ahead and do Machla. But that's the problem. Yehuda does Machla, but Levi can't do Noah. That's it. That's why you can't do it. Yehuda can marry Machla, but Levi can't marry Noah, right? That's it. Okay, says the Gemara Vayta. Rabbi Lezer said, Beishama Yoimrim. Guys, let's look at the Mishnah again. Look at the Lashon of the Mishnah. Them kadmu v'kansu yatziu. If they're supposed to do chalitza, if they do yibum, you make them leave. Rabbi Lezer says, Beishama Yoimrim Yekayim. All right. Okay. Anyway, you see Rabbi Eliezer says. Now back in the Gemara. Rabbi Shimon Oimer Yekaimu. Now, what is Rabbi Shimon? We'll see in a second. Abba Shol Omer, Kal Hoyolem LeBeis Hillel B'Davazeh, Shebeis Shammai Yomim Yotziu Beis Hillel Yikaimu. Abba Shol argues on Rabbi Eliezer. He says it's the opposite. He says Beis Hillel is Mekel. He says that you can go ahead and stay together, and Beis Shammai is the one who's mach and makes them leave. Now, Rabbi Shimon says Rabbi Shimon says what? They stay together. Now, Rabbi Shimon Kamai, who's he saying according to? Iki Beis Shammai Hainu Rabbi Eliezer. Iki Beis Hillel Hainu Kabashol. In other words, what is he adding to them? It's a man of shach. We have two opinions, right? What is Rabbi Shimon adding? L'chayra, he's either saying according to Beis Shammai or according to Beis Hillel, depending on how you go ahead and interpret. Do you agree with Rabbi Eliezer or do you agree with Rabbi Shol? Says he's saying there's no machlokes, guys. There's three sheetahs, guys. Three sheetahs. Watch, look at me. Says Rabbi Eliezer, Beis Shammai says what? Yekaimu, Beis Hillel says Yotziu. Says Abba Shol, Beis Shammai says Yotziu, and Beis Hillel says Yekaimu. Says Rabbi Shimon, there's no machlokes. Yekaimu. Three sheetahs. There's no machlokes. So he said, Achas mehem, if one of them, right? One of them was usher on one, right? One of them, Achas mehem, if one of them was usher, right? It was usher al echad issa erva, usher ba mutva chaysa, v'sheni usher b'shteyem. Okay, that's the class. The case of mother-in-law, guys. Mother-in-law. He's usher the Noah, Yehuda's mut. Okay, case of mother-in-law. Hatanina chadazimna. We learned this already. We learned this in the Mishnah Daf Chaf. Achaysa k'shi yevimta. Guys, two sisters are falling in front of one guy. Two sisters are falling in one guy. If one of the sisters is a mother-in-law, you can marry the right. You marry the other one. So you just told me the same thing over here. You just said it with two brothers, right? But you said it with two brothers, but it's the same din. Fred the Gemara, why do you have to repeat it? That's why I did Daf Chaf with you guys. It's the same din. Says the Gemara Tzricha. No, you need to tell me over here. There's a kiddush over here that you didn't hear from Daf Chaf. Diashmin Hasan from Daf Chaf. Mishum deleka lemigza mishum sheni. What are you going to say? If I let you do Yibam, the second one's going to do Yibam. There is no second one. There's only one person, right? There's no second brother. If I let you one do Yibam, you made the other one come to do Yibam. In other words, you may come to be Miyabim, the brother who's Miyabim, the guy who's has the Issa Erva can be Miyabim that one. So if I'm letting, in other words, Levi can be Miyabim Machla. But you then might think that what? That Yehuda could be come to be Miyabim Noah, which is not true. He has to what? Give chalitza. So says the Gemara, that's right. Emaloi, that's the chiddush of our Mishnah. The chiddush of our Mishnah is that even though there's the concern that if you let one do Yibam, the other one may do Yibam, we're not concerned. V'yashmin hacha, only our case over here by two brothers. And don't tell me it gets by one brother, Mishum de Sheni de Kam Muchach. That's because there's a second one that's Muchach Dawat. By not doing anything, you see, your Muchach Dawat is such a case as Achos Kukaso. When Yehud is not doing anything, Aval Hasam over there, the Laka Sheni over there, there's no Hachacha. Guys, when two sisters are falling to him, why he's marrying one because she's an Erva, but there's no Hachacha about Achos Kukaso over there because there's only one person. There's only two games in town, right? One is an Erva, that the reason there really is a din of Achos Kukaso, but since there's an Erva, she's not Zakak. So I would think over there maybe do chalitza because we want to prove there's a din of achos kukaso. So tzricha to tell me that no, that you could go ahead and do yibum. Okay, tzricha that you can go ahead and do yibum. Okay, they shouldn't say achas. No, I think they shouldn't say achas kuzo is muta. They may think achas. In other words, over there, what was gezerah be? The yashmin hacha mishum dekasheni deka. I didn't do that, right? Avlacha dekalimiks mishum sheni emaloi. The yashmin hacha mishum dekasheni dekamuchach. Over here, there's a second one that shows this din of achas kukaso. Avlacha lekasheni. There's no second brother. Emaloi. So you might think that people might think that it's muta to marry achos. They wouldn't know that, guys. They wouldn't know that the het that is an erva. They're going to think that achos kukaso is muta. So therefore, tzricha tell me no way. Okay. Now we said issa mitzvah issa kedusha. Then chaletz is l'misya bemis, right? You do chalitza. Says hanami also tanina base. Then also we learned the Mishnah said openly over there. Issa mitzvah issa kedusha. chaletzes lo misya bemis. You have an issa mitzvah and issa kedusha chaletzes lo misya bemis. Says the Gemara, hasam asa issa mitzvah lechuda, hacha issa mitzvah choisa. So what says there's a difference over there. Not only over here we have over there they only have the mitzvah lechuda. In other words, what's falling in front of him is an issa mitzvah, and therefore you can't take off the zika. To take off the zika, you need chalitza. But over here of the issa mitzvah is falling what in addition to a sister, and the asa mishum achos kukasai. So sakadich, I would have thought leikim issa mitzvah. The issa mitzvah should be like an erva, and therefore the achaisa should be what lachaisa kukasai fitis yabeim kamash malon. In other words, you have such a havamina, guys. Listen to this havamina. If I have one of two sisters falling in one guy, right? Two sisters are falling in front of one guy. One of the sisters is an erva, then the other one he could do even to. So I would thought the same thing over here. If one of them is your grandmother, your brother married your grandmother. I guess it's not his grandmother, right? If your brother married a mimoy, right? You have different mothers with the same father, not a problem, right? So if I might think that this would mean makam erva and you could do yibum kamash malon, that you have to do chalitza. That's the chiddush. That's the chiddush. Kamash malon, you have to do chalitza. Saka, I would have thought leikim issa mitzvah b'makam issa erva. Let the issa mitzvah come in the place of makam issa erva, v'tisyabeim and do chalitza kamash malon. Right? Failing of tisyabeim, einochinami. It sounds like a good svara. So keep them midaraisa rami kamei. Since midaraisa, the grandmother, they're in front of you guys. Midaraisa, they're both in front of you, right? If you do yibum, you're going to go ahead and be pagei b'achas kukaso. In other words, there's a zika there, and you can't tell me that the mitzvah, the erva of the rabbanon take erva to take off that zika. So sakra minushem mitzvah of the rabbanon, I might think mishum mitzvah of yibum of the rabbanon to go ahead and say what to do yibum. Kamash malon, that what? No, it's not strong enough. I think the rabbanon would make like a this. In other words, I would think the rabbanon makes an issa erva, make the grandmother mamish to have the koyach of issa erva to be mekayim the mitzvah and say it's not achos lukuka so because the zika is removed by the fact that you have such a strong erva your grandmother kamash malon. They didn't do it. That's what you hear from over here. That you didn't hear from over there. Okay, now hoysa achas mehem. If one was them was an erva, right, and the second was an erva. So what do we say? Asura zeh is this erva, and the sheni is zeh. So what do you have? Okay, so you have two guys outside. You got this. You got two guys, Reuven and Shimon, four brothers. Reuven and Shimon. What did they do? They married two women, and then the other two brothers married their daughters. So those latter two are usher to the of Yevamot because they're their mother-in-laws, right? But they're not each other's mothers-in-laws. So let's say in that scenario they die, and so what's falling? Falling from the Shimon is his mother-in-law. Falling from the Reuven is his mother-in-law. Just switch. Reuven, you marry Shimon's mother-in-law, and Shimon, you marry Reuven's mother-in-law. It works. Didn't I hear that from the first case? Well, we said if it's usher on one, if it's an erva one, you can marry the other. That's what you're doing over here. You have an issa erva on one, you're marrying the other. Fred the Gemara Kasha, why do you have to tell me it again? You're telling it to me in double. In a singular case, if falling in front of two brothers, one of them is our case that we looked up. Noah was to Levi, was an issa erva. Levi was able to marry what? Machla, no problem. So why do you just tell me? You told me a double of that. What's the chiddush you're telling me? Says the Gemara. Hasulamali, hainu hach. It's the exact same case. Mali l'chad, mali l'trei. What's the difference if it falls one or to two? So tzricha. Diashmin hasam over there by one brother. Mishum dika sheni demuchach. You have a second one that is free. Aval hacha the leka sheni demuchach because they're marrying both. Eimaloy. I think you don't do yibum to both. Diashmin hacha adarabet shabayu muchach adadi. They're both muchach and adadi. Aval idach loy. So tzricha. You have to tell me that it's okay. Says the Gemara Vaita. Says it one more time. Says the Gemara. If you tell me over there, you have one is falling. It's only one. So what's the difference if you have one erva or two arayas, right? So if you just tell me the case of one, so you have the second one not doing anything, so it's achas kukaso. But over here where you have both doing it, I might think you wouldn't let it because you won't realize there's a din of achos kukaso, because the erva is destroying both of it. That's if you tell me the 1 and 2. So, but and what about over here? And if you tell me over here by the case of 2, right? I say adarabba. You have that the fact that 2 brothers are also on the other one will be mukach that there's a din of achos kukaso, because why? They married the other one. But over there in the ratio where there's only 1, so you would, the fact we would not let him marry, we won't let him marry because we don't want to, guys, we won't let him do yibum to the one that's not a zerva because they may think that achos kukaso is permitted. Therefore, wow, we don't allow it. Okay, finally. Okay, now the last line of the Mishnah was Zuhi Sha'amru, the last line, Achosa Shechiyavimta Oichaletzes Amisya Bemes. What does this mean, guys? Achosa, when the sister of an erva, then she can even have chalitza done to her or yibum done to her. This seems to be again the same thing repeated for the umpteenth time. Says the Gemara, Zuhi lemute mai, mute is a mitzvah lezeh, it's a mitzvah lezeh. We didn't do this case. A guy, 4 brothers, 2 of them marry the grandmothers of the other 2. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, right? Reuven and Shimon are marrying the grandmothers of Levi and Yehuda. Reuven and Shimon die, and they have tsaris, falling in front. They don't have tsaris. Falling in front of Levi and Yehuda are the grandmothers. So in that case, what you do chalitza to both. In that case, you do. In that case, about you do chalitza to both. When 2 grandmothers fall, you do what? You do chalitza to both. Says the Gemara. What?
They can't marry the other one.
They can't marry. They can't marry the other one. Even though they could, we don't let them. So in other words, we're going to mayit that this case is not like that case. That case in the Mishnah to our royal spot, you could marry either one. You leave them over here. We're mayit. You can't do yibum. It's only chalitza, right? You might over. You only can do chalitza. Yeah. Says the Gemara. Says the Gemara. Is that hasulam ali hainu hach malicha malitrei? So the tema. I would have thought what. So in other words, Fredi Marakasha. We have already the Islam mitzvah you do chalitza. So now you're doubling it times twice, right? So says Ma'adu Tema, Kila Amiran Uki Islam mitzvah b'makam mitzvah erva heichad ikal and migzah mishum sheni. When you worry about the second brother, would also do yibum and be over nachas ukosa. So avol heichad lekal and migzah mishum sheni. We're just not worried. Eima lahayok minan issa mitzvah b'makam mitzvah erva. Well, since there's no other sister over here, there's just the 2 brothers, and you don't have to worry about chos. So I would think in that case, what? You'll let them go to do yibum kamash malan. Okay, now there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is the next piece of Gemara we learned already. The bad news is it's Daf Tes. It's like the hardest Gemara. Remember that huge Rashi, guys? Okay, it's a really really long. Okay, so the kulon meaning, and all of the tes vav arayos, we can find in the scenario to put in as a sister to aser on a brother. In other words, I can go ahead that long Rashi was there to find out the scenario by putting that erva in. You will be able to go ahead and do what? You will be able to go ahead and finagle that this one will do this one. We're not going to do that. Okay. So says the Gemara. We'll go through it quickly and then we'll get to the extremely hard part. Says the Gemara. The Kulon, by all 15, I can find the case of an erva going ahead to one and the other. And you'll have an erva to one. The sister will be permitted to go ahead and do chalitza or yibum. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with Rav, his Rabbi. And he says, there was 15, but he's only going to start counting from number 7, because the first 6 were only shaykh in the case of Bitay Man and Sasla, if you recall. Right. Says the Gemara, Aval Shisa Babi Deresha, the first 6 loy, my timer, Kivin the Bitay Ba'insin who the Mishkachasla, since Bita you find only in a case where the father was Ma'anis, a girl, the Mishkachasla, Benesuin la Mishkachasla, you don't find the Benesuin Kamari, and Einsin loy Kamari. Okay. He'll include that case. So in other words, he won't get all 15, but he will include the first 6. Why? Since Mitzias, you can find such a case. Aval Eishes Achiv Shlei Hoya B'Olam Eloi. Guys, Eishes Achiv Shlei Hoya B'Olam. We had Machlokes, right? Tanakama, Reb Shimon. Tanakama said it doesn't make a difference whether the child was born before the brother did Yibim or the child was born after the brother did Yibim. It's all out. Reb Shimon said no. Reb Shimon said when is Eishes Achiv Shlei Hoya B'Olam? If this child was born before the second brother did Yibum. But if Ruvain dies, Shimon does Yibum, and then Levi is born, Levi is coming into the world when then Ruvain's widow is under the jurisdiction of Shimon. And in that scenario, that's Eishes Achiv, that was permitted. That was permitted. If that you might recall that. If you don't, I'm sorry. Says the Gemara weiter. Okay, so says the Gemara, that's the case I don't find. I'll find 14, not 15. I'll find 14, not 15. So Rabbi Yosef B'Targum, Af Eishes Shloich B'Olamo, he'll include this as well, right? I think I skipped. Rabbi Shimon Mishkachas, I'll leave it to Rabbanan Lo Mishkachas. Look like Kamari. We're not speaking about Machlokes. Now, so therefore we have 15 according to Rav, 9 according to Abaya, and 14 according to Rav. Who did Abaya? Abaya 14. Rav Safra B'Targum, Af Eishes Shloich B'Olamo. And you find what B'Shisha Achi, the 6 brothers. Okay, this is the case we're going to go through because this is the okay. We had this case. What page? Pull it out. What? Yeah. Okay. Page 178. 178, guys. We have a 2-pager. Okay. Okay, you got 4 brothers, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda. Of course, Reuven and Shimon are married to 2 sisters, and Levi and Yehuda are married to 2 Nachriyos, 2 women who are not sisters. Reuven dies, Machla now falls to Yibum, and Yisachar is born. So before Shimon does Yibum, or anyone does Yibum to Machla, Yisachar is born. So guys, what's Yisachar to Machla? Eishes Achiv Shel Hoya B'Olamo. Correct? Guys, you got it? Yisachar is Tamachle Eshlo Yolamo. Now, Levi goes ahead and it's Miyabe Machle. That's not a problem. That's permitted. It's not a problem. Now, next page, Shimon dies. Shimon dies, and now Noah becomes available. Now, and before anyone gets to do anything to Noah, Zvulun's born. So now Zvulun is going to be also to Zvulun's going to be also to Noah and Machla, but Yisachar will be permitted to Noah. To which one? Noah. Okay, good. Now Yehuda, he goes ahead and he does Yibum to Noah because they all guys were in the world. Now Yehuda dies, so Yisachar is permitted to Noah, and Machla is permitted to Zvulun. Because regarding those 2, so now you'd have Asur Lazeh, Mutaris Lazeh, Asur Lazeh, Mutaris Lazeh. So Yisachar is also to Noah, to Machla, and Zvulun is also to Noah. But if also to Noah? Right? So why not? Because according to Shimon, because Levi was Miyabma. She was in someone else's jurisdiction. So this you can find this case. Okay, so now that's what the Gemara says right now. Says the Gemara. And according to this, only according to Reb Shimon, Simonecha, Mace, Reuven dies, Noilad Yisachar is born, V'yibem and Shimon does Yibam. Mace, whoever dies, Noilad Zvulun is born, V'yibem and right. Now Reuven and Shimon, the student Shtei Achayos. Okay, now the Gemara is giving the case, guys. The Gemara is giving the case. I just did it. Reuven Shimon Nesuin Shtei Achayos. Levi Yehuda Nesuin Shtei Nachriyos. Meis Reuven Noilad Yisachar v'Yibem Levi. Meis Shimon Noilad Zvulun v'Yibem Yehuda. Meis Levi v'Yehuda b'Lei Banim v'Naflu Kama Yisachar Zvulun. Asur Lazeh Mutaris Lazeh. Asur Lazeh Mutaris Lazeh. Chayser Shem Yivim to Lamali. Right. And the Chayser. Why do you have to tell me that? Chayser Yivim to Lam. Now Lamali Yibem Yehuda. Why does Yehuda play a role in this, guys? Without Yehuda also find it. Page 180, guys. Page 180. 180. Watch. We find the case without Yehuda. Reuven, Shimon, V'Levi. Again, classic. Reuven's married to Machla. Shimon is married to Noah. They're married to 2 sisters. Reuven dies. Machla falls Yibam to Levi. Levi should, for all intents and purposes, being able to go ahead He's the only game in town, right? Shimon and Noah are off limits because it's achas ishtai. Good. So now Yisachar is born before Levi does Yibum. Levi now does Yibum, right? Levi does the Yibum, and now back next page, and what? Shimon dies, and who's born? Zvulun's born, right? And now Yisachar is the same thing. Yisachar. So what does Yehuda come into play? So Fred the Gemara, why do you need Yehuda? Go ahead. Right. In the previous daf, we had Yehuda going ahead and doing Yibum, right? Yeah. Why do we need Yehuda doing Yibum? Without Yehuda, we're good. Even without Yehuda is good, right? Even without Yehuda is good. So what's the answer? The answer is page 182. Okay, you have Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda. Yehuda is married to Meirav, Michal, and Levi is married to Michal. Okay, now Reuven marries Machla, Shimon marries Noah. We are consistent, right? Now Reuven dies, and Machla falls Yibum, and Yisachar is born before anyone does Yibum. Good. So Yisachar is to Machla, Eishazachar Shlehoy Balamo. Correct. Now what happens? Levi does Yibum to Machla, which is what he's supposed to do. Okay. Next page. Now Shimon dies, and Zvulun is born. Good. And he's also to what? He's also to Noah, right? When Noah's Eishazachar Shlehoy Balamo. Now Yehuda comes along and does Yibum to Noah. Now Mesa Levi, Yehuda b'lei banim, v'naflu machla v'noya kama Yisachar uzavulin. And if they want to do Yibum, so they want to do Yibum to Meir and Michal. Meir is also to Yisachar and Mutter is Zvulin, and Michal is also to Zvulin and Mutter Yisachar. So we wanted to go ahead. We said Yehuda just for the case of the tzaras. So we wanted to go ahead and add that component. Okay. Now says the Gemara. Mishum Tzara says Hatenach Tzara. That's good by Tzara. Tzara Ma'ikla Neymar. Then the Hod of Yivnu Nami God V'Asha. So you're going to add one more. Well, let's do it. Get our money's worth in the safer, guys. One more case. Case 184. We're just going to add one more guy. I could very easily say you had one more guy and close the book. Let's do it. Okay. Now, starting off, Reuven and Shimon marry Machla and Noah. Reuven dies. And Machla falls to Yibum, and who's born? Yisachar is born. Good. So Yisachar is Eishav Shlomo vis-a-vis what? Vis-a-vis everybody. Yeah. Now comes along Levi, and he's Miyabe Machla. Next page. All right, guys, this is a 3-pager. comes along Levi, and he's Miyabe Mat Machla. Okay, that's what happens now. Now Shimon dies. And Zvulun's born. Before anyone gets a chance to Miyabe Machla, Zvulun's born. Good. Now Yehuda does Yibum to Noah. Good. And now Levi and Yehuda die without any children. Turn the page. And God goes. God is Miyab. God. Where's God? There's God. God, yeah, top right. God is Miyabe Michal, the wife of Yehuda, and Ashayibim es Meirav Eshes Levi. V'Asha, and Asha is Miyah. So God marries Michal, and no, and Asha is Miyabe Meirav. Asha is right above, and smack to the left is Asha's married Meirav. Now, so Umeso God. Now God dies, and Asha and Asha, and their 2 wives are falling in front of Yisachar and Zavulun. So let's go down to the line now. In Bo Yisachar Zulun Yavim Pazi V'Tavi Nashi Gad V'Asher. Again, these are tzaras. So Pazi, the wife of God, the tzara of Michal Eshes Yehuda, who is the tzara of Noah Eshes Shimon, Shlahoy Balamo, is also to Zulun Mot L'Sachar. Tavi is the wife of the tzara of Meirav, who was married to Levi, who is the tzara married to Machla, the wife of Reuven Shlevi Balamo, Asur Yisachar with L'Zulun. And I bid everyone a good evening on that note.
The important thing you learned is that the